Conor, this is it, the biggest fight of your career to date. What does it mean to you to be fighting Chris Eubank Jr?
It's definitely a legacy fight. I mean, obviously the great rivalry between Eubank Sr and my dad, Nigel Benn. It was a fight that's even still spoken about now. It was one of the greatest British rivalries. So the legacy lives on. It really is for the legacy of this fight. So for me, it feels like the stars have aligned for this moment, to be honest.
And did you think this day would always come? Because you've always been on your own journey in the welterweight division until now.
Do you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And, I feel like my whole career has been based on me working hard and doing things myself. And, really separating myself from my dad, so to speak. And me being here facing them challenges on my own. And, doing the training on my own, the fighting on my own. And my dad being there but being distant from me. So for me to be now fighting his former foe's son, it's going to be a special moment.
Obviously the two surnames are drenched in British boxing history. What kind of words, thoughts and memories come to mind when you think back and watch back those two fights?
Just what great fights, what a great rivalry, a genuine rivalry as well, which you don't often see, polar opposites. And my dad really couldn't stand Eubank Sr. It was there's no two ways about it. It's very obvious to the public and to the eye that they didn't see eye to eye and they didn't get on. And stars make fights, and the fights they had caused for them fights to go down in history as one of the greatest British rivalries. It wasn't just the fight; it was the whole build up to the fight, and there's legacy cemented there.
We know your dad maybe kept boxing away from you when you was a young boy to a certain extent. When can you remember the name Eubank coming into your life?
I'd probably say when I was 16. I remember that name. It was when I probably watched the fights for one of the first times. And I remember asking my dad, have you ever been knocked out? And obviously the first fight got stopped. So he never mentioned that he had ever been knocked out, but he mentioned him being stopped. And that was obviously the fight that I then watched. And then you can go on to the second fight, and how that turned up a draw, I'm not quite sure.
And you've obviously sat down and watched those two fights with
Most
your dad.
Definitely. I don't know if I've never really sat down with him and watched him with my dad. What I do know is the ability my dad has to recite certain moments in a fight. How many times he got hit before he knocked his opponent out. Even now to this day, he can recite any fight.
It weren't just the two fights, it was the whole build-up. It was the stuff with when they were signing the contracts, when they was on Newsnight. Watching those sort of complimentary shoulder programming build-up, I suppose that gives you a bit of insight to how big this fight can be as well. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, listen, the names are there. But the thing is the apple don't fall far from the tree. He's like his old man, and it goes without saying that I'm exactly like my old man. And that's why this fight is such a fantasy fight for the general public, not just the boxing fans, but the general public who followed my dad's and Eubank Sr.'s career.
And you spoke about legacy.
Yeah.
What does this fight do for your legacy?
Me winning this fight clarifies and cements the Benn legacy, in my opinion. The last fight, I believe my dad should have won. I mean, the whole world believes that. So, the fact that it was a draw, it's time for the Sons to sell the business and set the score straight. And, I believe without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to have my hand raised at the end of this.
Do you feel it is a little bit of a revenge mission? Because your dad didn't get the win over Chris, or do you need to keep that sort of family emotion to the side and focus on yourself?
I'm an emotional fighter, and that goes without saying. I fight on emotion. I fight with my heart on my sleeve, and it's just the way I am. Through my whole career, you watch my whole career. The reason why I'm so animated at the end of the win is because there's passion there. It's because I work so hard. It's because I love what I do, and I leave no stone unturned. So for me, this is definitely a fight that will be a lot of emotion carried into it. And listen, everyone operates different, but that's what works for me, and it's clearly worked for me. So I'm gonna set the score straight. I know people keep talking about the weight difference. I ain't concerned in the slightest. I believe I have my hand raised at the end of all this.
We'll come on to the weight in a second, but just on that, about setting the score straight. Losing to Chris Eubank Jr. just doesn't come in your mind at all?
No, it doesn't come into my mind at all, losing. But I don't think it can as a fighter. You know, there's a borderline between delusional and confidence, and I think you have to have a bit of both. But I work extremely hard, and I know what I'm capable of. I know every fighter says that, but I've proven delivered every single time. You know, don't get me wrong, it's my toughest fight to date, but listen, I'm going to go in there and do what I do, go in there and steam into him.
What's your dad's reaction been since this fight's got over the line?
My dad's reaction, he's just been calling me every day. He wants to do the whole camp with me. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll definitely fly him in. He'll be doing the whole training camp with me. And you can't beat my dad's knowledge and wisdom in this game. You know, if anything, you know, he knows what he's talking about. You know, he's a dart destroyer. You know, nothing else needs to be said.
And could having him in camp the whole time give you that extra 5-10%?
Having my dad here gives me a lot more than 5-10%. Mentally, emotionally. When I look at my dad, he reminds me of my DNA, what's in me, what my bloodline is. That's how I feel when my dad's with me. Irrelevant of everything else. Irrelevant of the upbringing, irrelevant of, you know, the boxing training, irrelevant of the school. What's in here? What's in my veins? And I am my dad. There's no two ways about it. I mean, sometimes I wish I wasn't. Even the worst parts of my dad I have. Even the greatest traits I have. You know, you're bound to. Not intentionally, but then when you look at my other siblings, their personality or their ambition, drive, intent ain't nothing like my dad's. They've taken more of my mum's, and you can really see it. So I am my dad's son. For the good and the bad. Him being there reminds me, I am you. And the fighter he was, you know, I admire, I look up to. He said to me something when I was young. He's gone to me, I pray you never have to enter a realm that I've had to enter in some of the fights I've been in. And then I sat down and really thought about it for a minute. And you know, that just shows me what I have in me. Just them words alone.
You mentioned about your siblings there. I believe this is the first time collectively the whole family will be coming over from Australia to watch this fight. How does that make you feel? Does that add any pressure, or does that make you determined even more?
You're talking about pressure. I don't feel no pressure these days. You know, what's not normal is my reality. You know, me fighting in arenas is normal to me. You know, it's, I think early on in my career, where it was frightening, where there was pressure, where I was scared to lose, or I don't feel that now. But if I had to feel that early on in my career to put me in good stead now where I'm at, mentally, physically, emotionally, at the age of 25, then so be it. You know, you've got to have thick skin in this game, and there ain't no pressure. Me having my family there more so gives me a sense of pride and joy, rather than pressure. There's no pressure from my family, no pressure from anyone. You know, I dealt with that early on in my career, but you know, it's all changing now.
You said a few weeks ago you didn't think Chris would take this fight. Why did you say that?
Well, because obviously, what's the benefit for Chris taking this fight? If he loses, where does he go? What does he do?
So it was more the weighing up option.
Why fight me? You know, and that's what I think. And then him having to come down in weight. Why? Just that feeling of getting a victory over this fight, this specific fight, deviated slightly from the plan. Don't get me wrong, world champion's the end goal. And, you know, I'm in touching distance. Just deviated slightly, beat Chris, and then, you know, we go straight back on the route.
Yeah, it kind of feels from the outside looking in, maybe the stars have aligned, this is the perfect moment for this fight to happen. Is that how you sort of see it as well?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say the stars have aligned for this fight. It makes no difference to me. I've got options. You know, the world titles are all tied up in a minute, and, you know, everyone top 5, top 3, top 2's waiting. I'll have this fight, win this one, and then, you know, straight back for the world title shot. At the end, the world title is the goal. You know, this is just for me, you know, a legacy moment.
And that world title at welterweight as well?
Yeah, 100% a welterweight.
How does it feel being guess you could effectively say the B side in this fight. You know, we saw the fight poster earlier, Eubank Benn. I think that's the first time in your career that's happened. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't really care, to be honest, man. It makes no difference to me. It really does make no difference to me. I'm not really fussed. At the end of the day, a fight's a fight. We're both going to get in there, and that's that, really, man. You know, whether it's A side, B side, I couldn't really care. What am I getting paid? What weight is it? Let's go.
This fight's been spoke about fans almost a bit in a fantasy like for the last couple of years. But when did it actually become a reality? What sort of time frame are we looking at here?
Well, I don't know. I've said to my trainer, I fancy my chances. I mean,
a month ago, 2 months ago?
Nah, or before that. I mean, you know, when I'm sparring middleweights and super middleweights and putting them over, it makes no difference when I'm going into the ring, you know, around super middle anyway. You know, I'm sparring middleweights and super middleweights. It makes no difference to me. To be honest, I'm only going on based on what me and my team know. Maybe everyone's going, wow, you're a welterweight, you're a 147. You're a normal size 147. You're not even a big 147. I know what I've been doing in sparring. I have to fly super middleweight sparring in. So it's, as I said, it makes no difference to me.
Let's talk about the weight. So with this jump up in weight, are you expecting to carry more power?
I mean, I'm strong either way. Jumping up in weight for me ain't really an issue. 154 is the weight I walk around in camp anyway, towards the end of camp. So I'm not really fussed at all. You know, my strength's my strength. I'm a strong fighter. I'm a come forward strong fighter. So I'm not really concerned, man, about the weight or what it does. It ain't even really a factor to me. It just means he may be able to absorb my shots a lot better. But then again, that means, you know, he's in there for the full 12. And that makes no difference to me because I'm a 15-round fighter. I train to do 15 rounds. You won't see me tiring in there at all.
And presumably, down the years, you and Chris have crossed paths outside of boxing. Do you get on?
He's a strange guy. He's a strange guy. I mean, he is like his dad. He's just Chris, isn't he?
Do you rate him as a fighter?
I think he's a good fighter, definitely. He's fell short a few times. Thought he would have achieved more, but he's a strong fighter. He's relentless, and he's an aggressive fighter. So you know that makes for a great fight because you know I put myself in that same bracket.
Yeah, you mentioned you thought he would have done more in his career. That's going to be one of my next questions. Do you think he's underachieved? He's won 2 fringe world titles, the IBO, but fell short when he challenged for the big one.
I don't know, because when you're talking that division, you are talking the same as the welterweight division. You are talking, you know, killers. It's, you know, one of the hardest weight categories in the world. So, I mean, do I think he could beat some of these top fighters? I do, but he hasn't, so maybe not. Do you know what I mean? But then again, those who speak confidently gain the confidence of others. So, you know, he's a good talker. But I personally think he could have achieved a lot more in the sport.
We've got the press conference coming up in the next couple of days. How do you expect Chris to approach that?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, I think he may look at me and think I'm in out of my depth. He thinks he's the A side and this is going to be one of his easiest nights' work. Yeah, that's fine. However he approaches it, I'm going to go in there and do what I've got to do. And, you know, I'm confident beating any man. Any man. I mean, I work hard enough. I know what I'm made of. I know what I can do. Whoever it is, whether it's someone I should have beat, I beat him easy. No two ways about it. I do what I'm supposed to do and more. It's not just about beating someone, it's how you look beating someone. Can't take away from the victories I've had.
You're going in as the bookie's underdog. What do you make of that? Do you read anything into that? Does it give you any bite?
I train with it like I've got a chip on my shoulder anyway. So it again, makes no difference to me. You know, if I'm the favourite or not the favourite, ain't going to make no difference because I'm going to get in there and, you know, I'm going to steam straight into him. And I'm confident in what I can do. I'm confident in my power. Not only my punch power, I'm confident in my ability, my boxing IQ, my speed, my explosiveness, my mindset. So I'm not really I'm not fussed about what people think. Never have been. Never have been.
You posted on your socials the other day, you feel another KO coming. You firmly believe you'll be the first man to stop Chris Eubank Jr.
I do. Call me delusional, call me very confident, call me what you want. I believe I can be the first man to stop Chris.
So Conor, when I say the phrase born rivals, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind is generational rivalry. And you know, it does what it says on the tin. I mean, it feels like the stars have aligned for this fight, and it's just meant to be.
Just finally, fans at the O2 in October, this is sure to be one for the memory bank. This is going to be a big, big fight. What can you say to the fans who are going to be wanting to tune in and also attend?
The fans know what to expect. I mean, it's any fight I have is an entertaining fight on its own, whoever it is. The fact that you have Ben Eubank, again, it's a legacy fight, it's a fantasy fight, and this is for the fans.
Great, Conor, we look forward to it. It will come around soon enough. Thank you for your time.